I sat in the silence of my tiny living room, the only sound being the ticking of the old wall clock. The same clock that had hung in this room since my late husband, Daniel, and I moved into this house 42 years ago. The walls had aged, the paint peeling slightly in the corners, but this house carried the scent and memory of a lifetime. In my hand, I held my wedding ring. Gold, simple, with our initials engraved inside, D&M, 1979. I hadn't taken it off since he slid it onto my finger under the jacaranda tree in my mother's backyard. But now, with tears in my eyes and trembling fingers, I slipped it off. The jeweler, a young man who probably didn't understand the gravity of what I was parting with, examined it under the light. "It's beautiful," he said casually. "Not much gold in terms of weight, but the sentiment is strong." I nodded, unable to speak. He offered me $1,200. It was all I needed to help James finalize the payment for the wedding venue. He'd said they were short, and his fiancée's family had already done so much. He hadn't asked me outright for money, but I could hear the stress in his voice when he called. "Thank you, Mom," he had said over the phone when I told him I'd take care of it. "You're a lifesaver." I smiled then. A warm feeling of purpose washed over me. I didn't need to be thanked or praised. This was what mothers did. James had been my only son. After Daniel passed away when James was only 14, it had been just the two of us. I worked 3 jobs at one point, cleaning houses, serving tables at night, and sewing on the weekends. Every dime went into making sure James had what he needed. His education, his clothes, his dreams. When he got into college, I wept. Not out of sadness, but pride. He was leaving the nest, yes, but he was soaring. That was all I ever wanted. Even after he graduated and moved to another city, we spoke every week. But things had started to change when he met Clara. She came from a wealthy family. Well-spoken, polished, a bit distant. I never felt entirely comfortable around her. But James loved her, and that was enough for me. It was a sunny Saturday. The kind of day Daniel would have called God's smile. I wore my best dress, the blue floral one James had once said made me look like a queen. My hair was pinned up neatly, and I carried a small clutch that held nothing but my invitation, tissues, and a bus ticket back home. I arrived early, thinking I might help with last-minute arrangements. But I was stopped before I could even get to the entrance. "Sorry ma'am," the guard said, lifting a hand. "Family only." I blinked. "I'm his mother." He looked at his list, scanned it. "Your name's not here. Only immediate family." I pointed at the grand archway decorated with white roses. "He is my immediate family." Then I saw James. He was standing near the entrance, laughing with Clara and her father. He saw me. Our eyes met. He looked uncomfortable. Then he turned away. I walked across the street, found a bench under a tree, and sat. The music began shortly after. People arrived in droves, well-dressed, chattering, full of joy. I watched as Clara walked down the aisle, the vision of elegance. I watched as James took her hand, smiling. I watched, and I wept. This was the wedding I had helped pay for. The one that cost me the last physical piece of Daniel. The symbol of my love and my life. And I wasn't allowed to be part of it. I stayed until they said their vows, and the crowd erupted in applause. Then I stood up and walked toward the entrance. The same guard moved forward. "Ma'am, I told you." But I didn't stop. My voice came strong, louder than it had in years. "I am Margaret Thompson. I am James Thompson's mother. I raised him alone after his father died. I scrubbed floors, cooked for strangers, gave up everything to make sure he had a future. And I pawned my wedding ring, my last connection to my husband, to help pay for this wedding." Silence fell. Conversations died down. Heads turned. Even the string quartet faltered. James appeared at the entrance again. Clara beside him. I stared at him. You saw me. You turned away. Is this what you call family now? James opened his mouth, closed it. Clara whispered something to him, but he shook his head. He stepped forward. Mom. I'm not here to beg, James, I said. I came because I needed to see with my own eyes what all those sacrifices were for. I just didn't expect to be invisible. There were gasps. Some guests were visibly moved. A woman near the front clutched her pearls. An older man nodded in sympathy. James came forward and reached for my hand. I'm sorry, he said, voice cracking. I was trying to avoid drama. Clara's parents had a guest list. They didn't want too many. I thought if you just watched from afar, you'd understand. But I was wrong. You were very wrong. Then something surprising happened. Clara took the mic from the DJ. I want to apologize publicly, she said. Mrs. Thompson, I didn't know about the ring. Or your sacrifices. This wedding wouldn't have happened without you. Please, come inside. As I stepped into the garden venue, applause erupted. People moved to shake my hand, hug me, offer me champagne. James whispered, we'll buy that ring back, Mom. I promise. I smiled. Some things can't be bought. But maybe they can be forgiven. The MC offered me the mic. I hesitated, but James urged me forward. I took the microphone and stood in front of the gathering. I didn't come here to be celebrated, I began. I came to witness the culmination of a dream. Not mine, but my son's. I came to remind him that behind every step forward he takes, there's a footprint of someone who walked before him, quietly, without fanfare, but with love. The garden was silent. Even the birds above seemed to pause. You may forget the sacrifices your parents make, but a mother never forgets the journey. I gave up a ring today, my wedding ring, not because it was gold, but because it was love. The same love that raised this man standing beside me. People wept openly. Clara walked up and hugged me, whispering, I will never let him forget. Later, in the evening, Clara's parents approached me. There was tension in the air. We didn't know, her mother said. Had we known, we would have ensured you were honored. I looked her in the eye. Sometimes knowing isn't the problem. It's caring. They looked ashamed, and I left it at that. James came later, asking to sit beside me. Mom, I've been selfish. I placed my hand on his. You've been human. Just don't forget to be a son again. Chapter 10, The Ring Returns. 2 weeks after the wedding, James visited my home. In his hand was a small velvet box. I tracked down the pawn shop, he said. Paid double. It's yours. He opened the box. My ring. I slipped it on and closed my eyes. Daniel's memory swirled back like a warm wind. Thank you, I whispered. James looked at me. Thank you, Mom. For everything. I see it now.